Hey, my name's Beauthemechanic, and I'm going to turn a snapper push mower into something really cool. A self-propelled bicycle, perhaps, or maybe a self-propelled cart, or I don't even know, maybe a tricycle. I don't even know yet. Let me show you what we're doing though. There's a bunch of stuff on YouTube, and I didn't really see anything that shows you exactly how to do it, so let me show you. There's where it came from. Sorry I didn't show you me yanking it apart, but I got a free lawnmower. It didn't work, of course. It was junk. Or at least they thought it was. There's the air filter. Take a look at this awesome thing. I pulled this out of it. I wonder why it didn't work. Very little happens to these old lawnmowers though. So, you know, if you've got one and you want to make something cool out of it, like a go-kart or a motorized bicycle, man, don't be afraid. I'm going to show you how to do it. So, here's the motor. What happened was, is I think that this thing came from a buddy of mine. It sat for a couple years. So Snapper's a good brand, but this is just a Briggs & Stratton. I don't even know what horsepower, maybe 3.5. And what happened was it just sat at its place and sat outside in the rain and just got destroyed. I think the pull top broke, the actual pull start. It's got little like fingers that kick out and they engage right here, and that's what actually gets this thing spinning. I think that broke originally, so he parked it. The carburetor, of course, became gunked up. And I'm guessing that intake has been like that for a long time. He was probably still using it until that finally just, you know, died on him. So anyway, good for me. I got it for free. I checked the spark, of course. It still had spark. You can do that by just yanking the plug and just holding the plug outside the block and spinning this over by hand. And there won't be any resistance because the spark plug's out. So when you do that, you know, you'll see that you got a good hot spark and go tick, 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 tick. And it'll you know, shock you if you're not careful. But oh well. So, you know, this is it. What did I do? I drained all the oil out of it. It's sitting right there. Took the lawnmower blade off of it. Lawnmower blade would just go right here. And this specific mower, some have 4 bolts. This one has 1, 2, 3 bolts that just hold it to the deck. You know, so it would sit like this while it's sitting there running, you know, spinning, cutting grass. So anyway, now what are we going to do? Still a little bit of oil dropping out of that thing. Now, I'm going to take this whole bottom cap off. Okay, I'm going to split the case is what it's called. I think these are 3/8 bolts. I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them off, and I'm going to split this whole bottom case off, okay? And then we're going to go from here. I'm probably going to have to take this shaft off too. These things suck. I might have to hit it with a torch and beat it off because they're splined and shoved up on there. But, you know, so the whole idea though is that we want this thing to run like this. And so that's going to be a lot easier setup to run on a bicycle or a go-kart or any of the above, because you're going to have a pulley probably running down to whatever, a jack shaft or whatever you guys choose to do. So the other things to, you know, this carburetor obviously is not going to work like this. This carburetor was designed to be straight up and down. Gravity is feeding gas into this, and there's no way that it's going to work in this position. So what we're going to have to do is I'm going to have to take this carburetor and spin it, you know, 90 degrees. And we'll figure that out when I get there. I might end up cutting it or doing whatever. I'll figure that out when I get there. So that's not a real big issue. The spark, it doesn't matter. The engine doesn't care to run one way or the other, minus a lubrication issue. The engine will run straight up and down, but it will burn up because this thing doesn't have any way to get oil into the crank in this location because it wasn't designed for that. So when I split the case, I'm going to show you guys how to modify this crank and the slinger to actually spit oil, you know, into the connecting rod and crank, and to keep it alive while you guys use it. And you know, this is cool because there's so many of these damn things out there. There's so many dang lawnmowers you can get for free, man. I mean, I've got 2 of them. I got this one for free, and I got this one right over here for free. See that one right there? I got it for free. All I did was put a carb kit in it. Carb kit costs $5, I think, and I got a little video of it online. Let's see if I can get this thing to fire up. See, all I needed was a carb kit. $5. Awesome. Free lawnmower. It needs a little wheel. I'll find a wheel somewhere. But anyway, this one was the more, you know, destroyed of the 2. So I'm going to take this apart now. I'm going to show you guys how to split the case and what it looks like on the inside. Here we go. Here we are. I already split the case. I took the lawnmower has this right here, and it sleeves it just like that, and it's got a pin. So I had to heat that up with a torch and hit it off, which is going to be fun for you guys at home if you don't have a torch, but whatever. So this is your lawnmower shaft. This would be where your blade, and that shaft slides on there. And there's a bolt run up in it to make sure that it doesn't come off while you're mowing the grass and kill your little sister or something. But anyway, this is the base plate. This is what holds it to the bottom of the mowing deck, right? Just like that. So anyway, took it apart and I cleaned it a little bit. So now what do you guys see? Oh, well, see, this is called a non-pressurized oil system, oil lubricating system. So what happens is, the way that it's designed is that this whole chamber is filled with oil all the way up to like probably right in here. And so what happens is all these gears, this is your cam gear. You can kind of see there's some lobes down in there, they're plastic lobes. And those just open your valves, which run this way. There's two valves, intake and an exhaust, and there's your piston. This is actually called a flathead design, which is really old. It's like from the the originals, I think, were all flatheads. The original cars, the original engines from back in 1890. It's a way more simple way to make combustion happen. Anyway, irrelevant. So basically this thing right here is called a governor assembly. This right here, I'm not going to use that anymore. That's going in the dumpster. I don't care how fast it revs. I want it to rev fast and hard. So now what happens is oil gets all over these gears, gets on this gear, which is your crankshaft gear, and there's your connecting. This is your connecting rod. This is your crankshaft, this whole thing here. And it spins just like this. Should probably take the spark plug out so you guys can see. But there's the bottom of the piston down there. So basically all that oil just gets thrown around in there like crazy, and that's what lubricates a little lawnmower, okay? But so the problem that we're going to run into, this right here is your fill stick, okay? This thing was sitting on the lawnmower. Your lawnmower dipstick would be right here. See, we got a massive hole in our assembly. When we try and run it like this, that's going to cause a damn problem, because we're not going to be able to do that. See, when we need to get oil all the way up to here, into here, and we have no way to do it. So we're going to have to fill this in with a plate, or you could use JB Weld, you could do whatever you want, but so basically that's what we're going to have to get into, is filling that hole. And then I think actually on this specific engine, we might even be able to run it, just like fill it up. We're going to have to modify the dipstick and put it in from somewhere else and fill it up with oil just about when this crankshaft touches it. You just want it to kind of dip in it every single time that it rotates through. And you know, so what that's going to do, if we can get the oil just about right here, it's going to slow the engine down a little bit because of the resistance, but it's going to throw that oil everywhere. Because right now we're at the bottom of the stroke, so this is going to go all the way to the top, and that's just going to throw oil everywhere. At least that's the idea anyway. So now I'm going to mess with it, and I'm going to show you guys what I did here in a minute.
Yeah, music.
Hey, it's Beauthemechanic.
Some men, you just
Gotta turn this off. No music in YouTube videos, or else they get sad and upset. Alright, check it. We're here for our second installment of me turning a lawnmower into something really ridiculous. Alright, so I've slept since yesterday, but here's what I got going for now. You know, this is my little lawnmower, Briggs & Strat 3.5, right? I told you guys I'd show you how to switch it over to run horizontally. It's a vertical shaft, which means it sits straight down and it cuts your grass, but we don't want to do that. We want it to run horizontally. So there's a lot of shit on the internet. I didn't really see any cool videos, so I'm going to show you a cool video. They give you pretty much everything you need to make this horizontal. You know, like this specific model. As you can see, this is your intake runner tube. I told you guys I would flip it around, and I did. The way the carburetor used to sit was 90 degrees from this, in this direction. And so all I did was just take, like there's the old carburetor plate, and it used to bolt kind of like that on there. Yeah, it's kind of like that. And you can see I just cut this corner off, and I kind of just lined it up and put the two bolts right back in. So to make sure we don't have any intake leaks, I got the O-ring back there, and I just reused a little spring off the back of the coil. And we're not using a governor set, which is what this stuff is. This is kind of how the old lubrication system used to work. It used one of these things right here called a governor. We're not using any of that shit, so I kind of just rinsed, recycled, and reused all the parts that we needed. So this spring, like I said, came off that. As you can see inside there, it's going to open up gingerly. This is where your spark comes from right here. It's called a coil.
Obviously, I have it taken apart so we can spin it. The exhaust doesn't have to be modified. It's ready to go. So let me show you what I did here to make sure that it didn't blow up. This is where your dipstick tube used to be. As you can see, I just got a piece of hose and shoved a lug nut on it so it can't leak any fluid out. So I'm gonna be filling this thing up with oil to about right here. This right here is the old arm for the governor. That used to actuate the governor, which spins a little rod back in here, which I've bent. You don't even need it. Screw that thing. It's totally useless now, but I don't want to take it out because then we'll have a little hole, and that's another hole for me to fuck with. So I just cut the little lever of the governor off, and I just tacked it. I kind of welded the crap out of it, actually. I burnt it in pretty good on this rod bolt. And so what that's going to do is as this thing spins, let's see if I can get it here. As that thing spins, it's actually going to go this direction. It's going to go just like that. You see how it's going to kind of throw the oil that direction? It's going to throw the oil up into this, which isn't installed right now, but that's my cam gear. Real nice plastic cam gear. So the cam gear gets all the oil on it, and it spins all the oil up to your tappets, which sit in here, and it's going to spin all the oil. And there's so much velocity and energy going on in there that it's going to whip oil everywhere. It's going to be so crazy if you could open this thing up while it's running. So oil will go absolutely everywhere. So all this really is going to do is it's going to keep. I don't want my oil to get really full. I could have just filled the oil all up to like right here, and the crank itself would have dipped in there and spun it all itself, but I don't really want to do that. It's going to, actually it'll kill some of your horsepower. There'd be so much resistance from that crank hitting the oil every single time that it'd kill a lot of your horsepower. And this thing's only got 3.5 horsepower, so we don't really have a whole lot to lose. So by doing this, as you can see, I can drop the oil all the way down to right in this area, which is maybe like 3/4 of a quart, and it'll still get the exact same oil lubrication that it needs. And this is what you got to do because this is called a switching. This is what you got to do because this thing's not considered a pressurized oil lubrication system. It's considered just a dipping oil system. So it just dips, something's dipping and slinging oil everywhere. There's nothing actually, like in a car, you have a gear to gear, 2 gears, and an oil pump, and the oil pump actually doesn't create pressure because you don't create the pressure, but it just moves the oil, helps move the oil around. So anyway, this doesn't have that. So now we're kind of fixing it, like I said. So right now I'm going to put this whole thing back together. I'm going to put the cover back on. We're ready to go. Like I said, I mean, the only thing you're really going to modify is something like this. And you know, in this example, they've already given it to you. You just cut it off and move it over to this rod and tack weld it. If you don't have a welder, you could probably get a piece of metal, take this rod bolt free and drill a hole in it and bend it. It doesn't have to be real strong. It's just got to be strong enough to grab the oil and throw it in this direction, you know, to this cam where that cam's going to sit once it's put back together. So, you know, you kids at home could do it. The only thing that I can tell you is this thing's hard to get off. The lawnmower blade piece is kind of hard to get off. But anyway, like I said, so now I'm going to put it all back together. We're going to fire it up and see if we can get this thing to run. Magic from nothing. Magic from nothing. Oh, free. And soon I'm going to put it on something cool, like maybe a bicycle. I'm going to put a friction drive on it, and we're just going to have a bicycle with a lawnmower engine. Who knows what will happen? Probably someone will get hurt, but whatever. All right, here we go. Oh, almost forgot. Last part. Sorry. Check this. Alright, do you see guys see that little bolt back in there? I put JB Weld and a screw and just shoved it in there and let it harden, and what that's going to do is keep oil from just pouring out of the bearing. Now it would last a while without it, you know, like oil's still going to get in there, just not a whole lot, and we kind of want to keep more oil in there, so that's why I shoved that back in there. There's still another hole there. Oil's supposed to get in there and kind of coat the bearings while it's running, but like I said, you know, I put it in there just to be safe and sorry. But see, if you guys can do it yourself. Put some JB Weld back in that hole. Just plug the hole, basically. That's all you're trying to do. Now we're ready to put it back together. Here we go. Hey, so it's together now. Let's see if it'll run. Put the whole thing together. I got it strapped to a table. Pretty sketchy, huh? The table's pretty substantial, though. It's fucking heavy as shit. So hopefully it'll stay there. But these things like to wander. And there's no blade, there's no flywheel, there's nothing to help it keep spinning, which is kind of a bitch for old lawnmowers, but oh well, I bet it'll still work. So here we go. When in doubt, use a drill.
So now everybody, when you say, you can't make a lawnmower work, why not? I just did. You can do it. Now I'm gonna put it on a bicycle, or I'm gonna make a tricycle, or I'm gonna do something weird with it. Just watch and see.